Hello, everybody, as you're all coming on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see if I can get some pictures of you all. There we go. Feel free to put your cameras on or leave them off. I don't mind. I am slowly getting you all to talk. I knew how to do that across the board, but anyway. How to talk is not available. Leon, pen, you cannot be allowed to talk because you have an old version of Zoom. Not to worry, I'm going to allow you to talk.
I don't have camera either, Karen.
You don't have to have camera. Oh, do you mean you're not allowed to have camera?
No, I don't. I don't particularly mind.
Yeah. You mean it's not letting you show camera?
No, it's not letting me show camera.
That's annoying. Let me just have a look. I don't know how to change the participant settings. That's probably the way I set it up, actually. I can hear you all though, which is good. And so those of you who have been on these with me before, quite happy for you to ask questions as we go, because I think it works better that way. And did everyone here go to Bread and Jam? Most of you, I think, did.
Yeah, it was very good. Did you weren't presenting a session?
No, I wasn't presenting a session. I think I'd done enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did for the successful applicants, pitching applicants, I did a webinar on Tuesday. Yeah, it's I don't think I could have coped with much more, actually.
Yeah, that's right. You must have coached a number of people before, because you did a session before.
Yeah, we did nailing the application, which was like this, which went really well. And then yeah, I've done quite a bit of coaching, power hours, and to be honest, I'm full. I won't be taking on any more clients this year, apart from what I am going to talk about at the end, which some of you will have already heard if you came to the last one. We are starting a group mentoring program on the 5th of November. And I will talk to you about that at the end. That's how I'm going to work with people, because I am pretty full. That's not to say we won't start again in the new year, but yes, it's been pretty busy, and we were very successful, or very blessed, both, I think. And please, those of you who didn't get pitches, don't be cross, but I think across my client base, we're up to 15 pitches of people who've come in and said, yeah, we got a pitch. But I have to say, and I'm seeing some people, and I won't mention any names, who I did work with, and we didn't get pitches. And the whole point of today, just if you didn't go to Bread and Jam, please don't feel excluded, because, we're not going to talk anymore about Bread and Jam, because that's basically done, apart from those people who are pitching next week. And I'm scheduled to talk to some people this afternoon and over the weekend to get everybody pitch ready. But yes, I think it's a little bit of a lottery, and I don't know whether anyone else has any feedback. I know I'm going to sort of give some feedback to the Bread and Jam guys, but anybody got any thoughts before we kick off?
Can I just say, oh, sorry. My apologies.
Please go ahead, Jules.
Thank you. Sorry. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I've been really poorly, and I don't look my best.
I don't think anyone can come on camera, because I appear to have not let anybody, and I don't know how to allow it.
So last year at Bread and Jam, I'm a consultant, so I was able to get 2 pitches last year. This year, I applied with 3 companies that I work with, and I didn't get 1 pitch. Which I think, take this aside, a couple of weeks ago, I pitched a Product Guru, And I did find that that was so much better because I actually pitched to 12 buyers at the same time.
Yeah.
And possibly that's the way that they should be moving forward, so that more people can get to pitch.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting, and that's what I'm going to talk about to start with, actually. So
okay, thank you.
Why don't we get sort of stuck in? George, welcome.
And yeah, just my point on that. I worked with Karen just before submitting the pitches. I was fortunate enough to get a pitch.
Well done.
Thank you. However, since then, I've also approached a company that I did not get a pitch with, and I am progressing well with them. They've asked for samples, etc., etc. So just because you didn't get a pitch with one of the buyers from one of the companies does not mean that the other buyers that are more relevant to you are not interested.
Yes,
Brian,
and also, sorry, George, go on.
Brian, Sophia here. Morning, everyone. Just to add to that, I sort of submitted my applications myself, quite naively, thinking I'll just be able to do it and just research the companies, and didn't even think to consult someone sort of more with more expertise. And I think from the 13, 14, I think I did apply to the majority of them and spent like a whole week just submitting these different applications and managed to succeed in one. But interestingly, following one of the events yesterday where they mentioned that we're looking to work with, you know, different suppliers, etc., the few that I had pitched to that were specific to my area made no contact. So it's interesting what you said, Brian, of making contact with them even if you weren't successful, and they still are prepared to sort of engage with you, and in your case, you know, be prepared to receive samples.
I think you've got to be, I mean, let's get stuck into it, because this is something I'm gonna talk about. So let me share the screen. But I think this kind of debate is really interesting. And you know, I don't, those of you who know me know I'm not really a heavy selling person, so I don't want you to feel I'm selling the course, but I do think that I've run 3 cohorts of Pitch Perfect now, and it's these discussions and this help that actually is probably, obviously apart from the training and the interaction with me, is the thing that people have benefited most from. So I want to continue that dialogue, but we also need to get through the content so that you get something out of it. And also my laptop died yesterday and I nearly died with it, with the stress. But I'd made a load of notes, which I have, fortunately, I managed to recover it. There's just a couple of notes I want to add up, and then there will be a downloadable version of basically my takeout. And some of you will have probably gone to all of the talks anyway. Those of you who are didn't sign up for Bread and Jam, you get that information as a download, and I will send, when we send out the recording link, I will also send out the link to the drive, because there's just one little bit I want to add on, because I had the tail end of Whole Foods and Selfridges, and Adrian came out with some really good stuff just after my laptop died. But anyway, so if we just get stuck in, for those of you who don't know, I think most of you do, but anybody who doesn't, my numbers, as it were, I was a buyer for 7 years at Tesco, and was in the fresh foods, and then also at Boots, and I bought vitamins primarily and some food and drink. I then went on to be account manager and then a commercial director for about 14 years, selling all sorts of stuff, mostly to Tesco, Sainsbury's, Boots, from Christmas puddings to turkeys to sushi. And I've been running Food Mentor for 5 years. It's 5 years this month, which is the longest time I've done anything. So I must actually enjoy doing it, which I do, which is really great. We have over the last 5 years gained listings for pretty much all of those, and as I say, 14 pitches. I was talking to somebody else last night, 15 they got a pitch as well. So it's been my most successful year. I think it's probably luck of the draw, and it's interesting that you know, Julie was saying not so good, and also those of you who know Gavin McLean, he was saying he didn't get that many either. So anyway, let's get stuck into that thought process. So what are we going to do today? I'm going to talk about kind of 4 things, really, 3 or 4 things. First one is how to get a meeting. So the methods that I think are available to you, and anyone who's succeeded in doing something else, then, you know, chip in, because it's good for us all to learn from what's worked. Second thing, and this is, I wrote the secret sauce of getting a listing course earlier this year because I thought it was important to think about trade marketing. And it came across so strongly during all of the talks by the retailers about how they want to know about your products and almost to find them themselves. They want to discover it. Jules, have you raised your hand?
I did before I asked the question, but we've already spoken about
okay.
that. Sorry,
That's
thank
all
you,
right. Don't worry. Just
you.
Please, anyone who wants to ask a question, please just ask, because I can only actually see 4 of you at the top. Otherwise, I can't see mine. And Jules, you're one of them.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll talk about the secret sauce of getting a buyer's attention, which is really this whole piece about you have me at hello. So we'll talk a little bit about how to write an email if that's the way it needs to be. And those of you who haven't been or didn't go to the webinar on nailing your application, there's some really good material in there about thinking about what you need to be saying and how to think through that. So I'll send that link back out as well. And then what do you do when you're ghosted? From my 15 pitches with my clients, I suspect we may well get ghosted by quite a few afterwards. So thinking through what we do when people don't reply. So I said I wanted to talk through some of the ways and the pros and cons of each. So bread and jam, as we've talked about, it's a bit of a lottery. And for all 4 of these, actually, you might not get the right buyer. So Product Guru, Jules, you obviously had a good experience. We had a good experience, a bad experience. I'm not talking out of turn. I had quite extensive discussions with Product Guru about it, and they are thinking of how they're going to improve. I work with Dee Mappershaw, who was, I'm not plugging the course, but she did the very first course I ever ran. And I signed her up for Product Guru, and we did chilled food. And not only did we not get any response, they weren't listening. And it was quite rude and it wasn't quite appropriate. And the point is, we weren't the right product for them. So we didn't get the right buyer. And, what can we do? It can be expensive. I mean, bread and jam wasn't ridiculously expensive. Product Guru isn't, because you kind of go, well, a couple of £100 here, a couple of £100 there, but it adds up. So there is that cost. Things like Enterprise Nation, for those of you who've done food exchanges, I tend to speak at Food Exchange. It's a really good gig, but there you don't have to apply. And I think the entrance to Food Exchange is like £20–30, but there's only three slots. And then again, I judge at some of these. I've judged at IFE. I did some judging for Speciality this year. Food Matters Live, I think, has got one. It's very luck of the draw. So it's difficult to control. And the other thing to say, and I know I'm going on the negatives before we do the positives, it's a very short time to get your message across. And, the training that I did on Tuesday, which actually, if you want to watch, is up on my YouTube. So I'm quite happy to send you a link to that as well, because that will give you some clues for future. But 10 minutes, and in Product Guru's case, it's 7 minutes for a lightning pitch. It's pretty quick. And then I think when you stand on stage, it might only be 5 minutes. So it's okay, but it's not controlled. Having said that, I have had good results. We have had listings and contacts, certainly from Bread and Jam, and I did do Product Guru with someone else, and it worked well. And it's good additional exposure. One of the things, for those of you who didn't see the Selfridges, Adrian Boswell's talk yesterday, he was saying they like to see what's in the awards and who's shortlisted. So if you've got a new product, Brian, I'm thinking of you, you've just obviously won that award. I think that's really good to profile raise, and that seems to be something that they're really keen on. So we'll come back to awards in a bit. Okay, online applications. I have a client who will remain nameless primarily because I can't remember who it was, who said to me, I'm not doing that. That's not personalized. They never read them. No, I want to do it the direct way, the emails. Now, I've had good results from this. I've just done an application for Ocado for a client, and we have a pitch on the 28th. And I'm assuming they've got a pitching day coming up, so I don't know whether anyone else has gone in that route. Certainly, Morrison's, well, the people who are up on that list mentioned their online applications during the last 2 days. And for some people, that is the only way they're going to do their MPD. They're not looking anywhere else. Now, if they see you at a show, or they see you've won an award, or you write in and you hit the right day, right spot, happy days. And I can't imagine they're just going to go, no. They may well say you need to go apply. But even Getir, I was listening to them last night. They have an application process, and in the notes I've written down the email address again in case you missed it or you weren't at Bread and Jam at all. So downsides of online applications, a few things here. Booths, I didn't know this, but there is only one person who assesses the applications, a lady called Caroline, who I've had several rejections from. She's very nice. But does she know the whole category? She obviously knows booths, but she doesn't know the whole category. So or the whole gamut of categories. So I don't know, that one made me think, oh, I didn't realize it was just her. Ocado won't let you apply if you cannot upload a SALSA or a BRC certificate, which could be problematic for some of you who maybe haven't got SALSA yet or in the process. And also the other thing just to say about Ocado is if you've got a BRC grade B, or is it A and below, you can't apply. So again, it makes it difficult to have a conversation and kind of try and wiggle around it because it's a little bit too structured. And then, of course, there's that difficulty of standing out because, you know, goodness knows how many are in this inbox. And again, if you download the notes, I did make some notes about how some people, so for example, Getir have an intern that assesses them. Again, I'm not saying an intern is any less knowledgeable. Well, they are less knowledgeable. They haven't been in the industry for very long. But then having said that, Getir's only been around for 9 months in the UK. So, so I suppose my recommendation from this slide is don't reject online applications. I think they are a good thing to do. I think it's worth it. And it does no harm as part of your overall strategy. And the whole point, I think, for this particular webinar is to say, you know, don't just pick one thing, do it all, you know, scattergun approach, strategically, of course.
Karen, sorry, could I just ask?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about, so we did for the 3 of the companies that I work for, we did an online application for Waitrose. And it had a closing date, and we got everything in before then, but we've not heard, this was about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I think, and we've not heard anything, nothing back whatsoever. Do you know anything how Waitrose work?
I honestly don't know. I don't know if anyone else is on here who's spoken to Waitrose. I don't know how they're working with their online applications. I can certainly put you in touch with someone who's recently had a listing.
Okay, thank you.
If you want to give me a shout afterwards.
Thank you.
Okay, LinkedIn. Those of you who know me or have sat through anything else of mine will know I'm so passionate about LinkedIn, and I was so gratified to listen to Adrian Boswell yesterday. I did listen to others as well, but he seemed to stick in my memory. He says he gets not most, but a lot of his newness comes through LinkedIn. He is happy to link in with people, and he's happy to take pictures on LinkedIn. So if Selfridges is on your list, and I know it might be for some of you, it's well worth, because the other thing that Adrian's particularly good at, and he's done it a couple of times for me, is pass it on to the right buyer as well if he's not the right buyer. So I've had good
Sorry, can I just interrupt there?
Yes.
I recently met Adrian at the Fine Food Show in Harrogate, and following on from that, he asked me to contact him via LinkedIn, which, you know, it's his usual sort of position, and I did, and he accepted my request. Now, I don't want to sort of just bombard him with sort of requests and private messages, but because I only set up my account on LinkedIn recently, so I'm trying to sort of just post organic, you know, posts about my products. But do you think I should send those to him directly, or just assume that I'm coming on his feed and he's, you know, managing to read and view them?
I think LinkedIn is becoming more and more difficult, like every other social piece. And I know, in fact, there's a quote that comes later on in this presentation that came from Adrian when I did a survey of buyers about 2 years ago to understand what they were looking for. And he said, don't bombard me. If I want you, I'll come and find you.
Okay.
So I think with that, what I would be doing is building up your LinkedIn following, and doing some work. And I have a whole module on the course about LinkedIn, which I'm going to update because, you know, it's LinkedIn is changing all the time. But I think the driver, so for me, I only really focus on LinkedIn. I do a tiny bit on Facebook, but not much. And I've got 5,500 followers now. And when I post, I'm disappointed if I get less than 1,000 reads of a post. Now, I'm not boasting about that because it's been blooming hard work. But a lot of the time people say to me, oh, I saw you post on LinkedIn on this or that or the other, because it's coming up in the feed all the time. And I think what I cannot emphasize enough is you do need to work at it to make sure that you're posting relevant information. And I always quote Drop Bear Beer as an example of someone who does it really well, and Joelle and Sarah, but Joelle especially, have written some really high value articles about non-alcoholic beer, which is what they make. And we had Sainsbury's connect with her and approach her for a meeting from that article. So it does work.
What's the name of the brand, sorry?
Drop Bear Beer. For those of you who've been to Australia, you'll get
they're a lovely team, really nice.
They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. They really are. And I was very lucky enough to do some mentoring with them through the Welsh Food and Drink guys. Anyway, we digress. So some of the problems with that is it's difficult to know who the buyer is, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. A lot of buyers don't link in. So Sophie Davis of Planet Organic, I know her, I've spoken to her, we've had a really good chat. She still won't, she's still pending. It really annoys me. But you kind of just go there. And for some of you for whom Insta and TikTok and Facebook are probably your key ones because you're marketing to consumers, social media, LinkedIn's another thing you've got to manage. And it's like, oh my God, I've got to do another thing. But seriously, please add it. If you're serious about doing some trade marketing, you need to add LinkedIn. And I'm going to talk about it again in a bit, and probably again. So you'll be bored with LinkedIn by the time I finish this. Third time, and this kind of came up several times in the conversation, referral, recommendation, and the buyer actually contacts you. Now, the first thing to say about that is instinctively, it's difficult to manage or influence that. However, they are contacting you because they've found you. And we have had good results from that. I've had several clients for whom the future brand teams have approached. Funnily enough, and this is quite ironic, and I don't think she's on here, so I can mention it, but I won't mention the brand. We got a pitch with Holland & Barrett for next week. And then yesterday, a different team has approached us from Holland & Barrett. So that was quite exciting. So that's obviously come from the PR, we think, because I can't imagine that they'd be doing 2 pitches. Anyway, so that's quite interesting. A lot of buyers mentioned the fact that they were interested if somebody mentioned it to them. They were saying they like to be the one that's brought it home. So, you know, they go to borough market, they go to local markets, they go, you know, a lot of them mention speciality, the fine food show. They trawl the internet, and obviously Insta was really important during the lockdown, but now the expos are important as well. So I've always been a little bit jury out on exhibitions, if I'm honest. But I think because of the pandemic, people are loving going out and having that, or buyers are loving that, that searching opportunity, you know, the hunting and gathering. The buyers are quite enjoying that. So I think that's quite interesting. And again, thinking about how you raise your profile, and that's going back to that trade marketing secret sauce piece. It is expensive to go to shows, and I think that's the other challenge. And, you know, maybe you have to think about building that into your overall marketing spend, whereas before, I think, you know, we've always thought about consumer marketing without thinking about trade. Okay, this is probably the way that most of us have approached buyers in the past. We email them. I have had good results from this, and I say eventually because it takes a long time sometimes to get their attention. Knowing who the right buyer is a challenge. Knowing their email addresses. I do have a download of all the email addresses, which comes as part of the course, because in the course there's loads and loads of templates and downloads of things that I've gathered over the years, like a magpie. It's a good way. I think it's probably the only way that you can tailor your message to the specific buyer. And I am going to talk about how I think emails should be written in a minute. So we'll have a look at that. You can tailor it, you can send visuals, you can start to have a relationship, but it's very difficult to stand out in busy inboxes. And, you know, Adrian Boswell used to say he got over 200 a week of newness, and then they get their own emails as well, or you end up in their spam. It's difficult to know what the right time is, and again we'll talk about that in a minute in terms of why you get ghosted, and then also difficult to know what to say. And part of the reason for taking such copious notes from the last 2 days, which has been an invaluable part of Bread and Jam, I don't think they've done it quite so well in previous years. I've got a pretty good idea of what everyone's looking for. Now, obviously, Tesco's weren't there, pretty critical, although Tesco did do a Bread and Jam one. Waitrose weren't there, and they seem to be a bit secretive. There is a Holland & Barrett webinar on the 4th of November. I don't get commission for Bread and Jam, but just to flag it up, which I will be going to, because obviously we've got some Holland & Barrett interest. But yes, knowing what to say and shaping it in the right way can be a bit of a challenge. Okay, so as I say, I've written this mini course. It is available online, and again, I'll send you a link. But I'm going to package it up as part of the group mentoring program, so you can have a watch of this as well. And what I've identified is 7 different ways of getting noticed. So this is almost a pre-sale. Now, a lot of you will be like, well, I want to get on with it. I want to talk to people. And I think this is a continuous process that you need to bake into your overall marketing going forward. So the 7 actually comes from the research that says that you have to touch somebody 7 times with your marketing before they'll take action. And if you talk to kind of digital marketers, they say it's probably more than that. But if you say that and that's before they take action. So that doesn't mean the buyer's going to write to you and say, would you like a listing? It's to actually have a conversation. So the ones that I think are key, which is pretty much what we've talked about, is LinkedIn, and other social media. So you'll notice at the bottom there is other social media, and they are trawling that, and the overall raising of your profile, I think, is key. But I don't think we necessarily use the others for what I call trade marketing. That's more brand awareness, but LinkedIn needs to be for brand awareness in a trade way, which is a bit different. So then I've got exhibitions, which we've talked about, become more important, I think, this year. And obviously there's lots coming up in the spring, so it's worth having a look and think about what might be most relevant for that, and that's something we'll certainly address on the course. Awards. I'm cynical about awards because there's so many of them, but again, you know what, it looks good, get some awards, get some coverage, it works really well. Social media I've talked about, hashtags. So again, it wasn't mentioned so much this time, but I know Sophie's really passionate about, Sophie from Planet Organic, looking for hashtag Vegan London. I don't know whether she only buys Vegan London, but that's the one she always mentions. But I think hashtags are really key.
12:30, yeah.
There you go. Can you mute everyone mute in case, unless they want to say something, please, so we don't get any interruptions. And then that piece about referrals. Something that Adrian said, not this session, but another one I was doing with him a couple of months ago, was if someone recommends a product, he'll look at it. So, you know, again, that's a very difficult one to control. But a couple of buyers over the last couple of days were talking about networking. And if some of you, I know some of you are contract manufacturing, being contract manufactured, if your manufacturer's already supplying your retailer, they were recommending that might be something that's worth using, which I hadn't thought of. So that's a new top tip if that's relevant to you. So the second key point I want you to take away today is think about your trade marketing, and within this mini course I've got a trade marketing plan which you can fill in, which helps you think about the USPs of the USPs of your business in relation to retailers as opposed to in relation to consumers, because they could be different, they probably are different, and then what messages you want to get across, and then putting together a plan for each of these 7 elements. And you might say, well, actually, I ain't doing awards. Actually, sorry, I forgot one, press. Doing press releases and engaging with the press is really key as well, because again, they're going to be reading about you in the press. So again, winning awards gives you something to talk about in the press. So it gives you fodder to talk about. And also all of these gives you...
Can I just ask you on the point of press? So we won an award this year through the Great Taste Award, and I did contact a couple of local editors for press releases, and again I'm yet to hear back from them. So what's your stance on that? Should you sort of contact them, or is it too late in the day to sort of go back to the award that we won?
It's probably worth going back and doing a piece about a local business that's winning awards, and then what they want is news. They want news of success. So I think you need to position your press releases in that way. And also, you know, I've Simpson, who won the Artisan Award at the Golden Fork, have yet to put a press release out. We were talking about it this morning. However, they've already had 2 or 3 journalists get in touch, because I presume the Great Taste guys actually put out a press release about the Golden Fork Awards, and they're going to be featured in some magazines. So, you know, it's quite powerful, but it has to be newsworthy. And, you know, there's PR agencies who spend their life creating newsworthy stuff. You know, that's why you see a lot of these surveys, you know, when they say, oh, you know, 20% of, what did I see? It was about dating this morning. 40% of men who are looking for permanent relationships have a dog in their photo. Happy days. That'll have got massive coverage. I don't know who'd actually put it out. I don't know which brand, but it'll have come from a brand. So it's creating news that's key. And your winning an award might be interesting to you, but it might not be local. So maybe getting together with, seeing who else won awards in your region, and doing a joint press release and saying, you know, I don't know, where are you based?
Leeds,
yeah, we go, you know, 20 leads companies, one, says Sophia, and I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of the pre-work. Now I'm going to just give you some top tips on how to get hold of the buyer. So let's go back and do the traditional approach. I have to say, I don't think LinkedIn's search engine's very good. And I always use Google. And this is quite an old example, actually. So I put in something like snack buyer Tesco and look what comes up. When you do it actually on LinkedIn, you don't get that. Also, and again, let me just bore for England about LinkedIn. I'm with 5,000 followers, it's very rare I come up with a third connection. Most of my connections are first or second. So one thing, link in with me. I will put the chat. So you will then be second connection to all of my connections. So that will raise your profile, that will widen to start with, or go through all of my collections. I'm not sure if they're public or not, actually. I might make them public just for a little short period, and pick off the people that you want to link in with. It does make it a lot easier. But if you're looking for the buyer, this is how I do it. When somebody says to me, can you find me the buyer for X? I will go into Google and it usually brings up LinkedIn. If it doesn't bring in LinkedIn, there might be a comment, sometimes there's press releases from the buyer talking about something they've done. And that's another way you can find it, but it only comes from Google, not LinkedIn. However, you can use LinkedIn, and this is the way I would do it. So you might not just be looking for a buyer as well. So there's other titles like procurement manager, or the food service guys have got a few odd ones as well. So you might have to try a few ways, but this was another way of doing it. So in people, put in buyer, and then I was looking specifically for the Tesco buyer, and then trying to look at somebody who's within my second connection, because that's, I think, all they'll show you anyway. I'm not quite sure about that, actually. So always look for people, make sure you've narrowed it down. So Whole Foods is a particular pain because you put Whole Foods in and of course you get the whole of the US. So get rid of the US to start with, that'll make it a little bit easier. And then I've talked about network and the power of networking, and the Food Hub is amazing for this. Although people aren't super keen to share all of their leads, and you can understand why. People want to protect the work that they've already done. But if you say, for example, this, as I say, this is a little bit old, so it's probably not Esther Bunny. But anyway, if we wanted to get hold of Esther Bunny, who's the assistant buyer at Tesco, I would be looking at who else do I know who knows her. And I've got 20 connections. Now, with 5,000 connections on LinkedIn, I honestly don't know them all. I've linked into a lot of people. I try and pick people who are relevant, but what I would be looking for is somebody in that list who I know well enough to go, hey, Tom, I don't suppose you'd mind just introing me to Esther, because I've got this really great brand and I think she'd be interested. And that's a way of warming up the lead, because all of what we're doing is going back to this whole old fashioned piece about hot leads, warm leads and cold leads. So a cold lead is when someone rings you and says, were you in an accident? Would you like to make a claim? And you go, oh, hang up. That's a really cold lead. If your mate rings you and says, oh, Charlie's going to ring you about some insurance, you might still be like, oh, I'm not really sure about that. But if Charlie rings you and he says, oh, hang on a second, I've just made a claim because I had that bump and I've just got £5,000 back, and you really should have a chat with these guys because they're going to make such a difference and you need to contact X, that's a hot lead. And so what we're trying to do is obviously increase the probability of the buyer being interested. And if you can make them hot by connecting through someone else, and LinkedIn is a way of doing it, but it doesn't have to be LinkedIn. Again, you can network through some of these events, go to the Bread and Jam thing tonight. Unfortunately, I won't be there because I'm in France. But those kind of things, networking, making a group of people who can help you. I have a fantastic network of different brands, different service providers, manufacturers who I can go to and say, I don't suppose you know such and such, or who might make this, and it's really, really powerful. So that's not just about LinkedIn, it's about how to find someone who knows the person you're after. Okay, that lecture over. Okay, then Crystal Knows. So this is taking you a little bit more advanced into, and this is what we tend to do when I work one-to-one with people. So Crystal Knows, it's crystalknows.com. I do have an affiliate link, but don't worry, because actually none of you will probably want to do the affiliate piece. You get 10 free goes at this. So what it does is it profiles people on LinkedIn. And I've done Sophie as an example because, there she is, notably a second connection, not a first, but you can still profile people you don't know. Or you're not connected to, which is great. So you get the little icon, it's a Google extension, and you click on that and hey presto, it gives you the profile of Sophie. And it also tells you how to sell to her, how to write your emails, how to target. And that's something, again, we talk about a lot on the course, and we go into some detail, because I think it's really, really key to make that email as specific as possible. And a lot of the people over the last 2 days were talking about, I want an email that's for me, I don't want to cut and paste. And those are the ones that are most successful. And what you have to look at is not just tailoring it to the retailer, so doing all the good stuff of going in the retailer and taking the photos and knowing what they've got on the shelf, yabba dabba dabba, but it's also knowing the person. And if you're going to be talking to Sophie, she's going to be very different maybe to Adrian, who happens actually, because I've profiled him as well, because I'm quite sad, he's down in that kind of bottom left-hand quadrant in conscientious. So he wants something quite different. And as I say, it's something we go into in a lot more detail, because it's very interesting and very complex. And there is a book as well, not written by me, but by the Crystal Knows people. Okay. So emails. So I did, actually I was going to do this slide second, but anyway, we'll do this slide first. So I did this survey a couple of years ago of buyers, and I asked them what worked and what didn't. And I actually kind of put it together. And also some that have worked for me. I think Let Me Make Your Day is a little bit borderline, but anyway, that was one that they mentioned. Is this the brand you've been missing? The best meat burger you'll ever eat. Again, a bit arrogant. Trendy range of jackfruit. Low sugar, high protein, bite-sized cakes. Not just another ice cream brand. So those are all ones that worked and got replies. And these are ones that were cited by other buyers. So things like, hello there, from a name I didn't recognize. So overly personal to start with, probably a green people person to a red or a blue who's like, whoa, don't know you. This vegan product will revolutionize your business and grow your category by 100%. So those are two very assumptive, that unless you can prove it in the main part of your email, just turn people off, not to be missed. They get that a lot. I think putting something in the subject line that is relevant and summarizes your brand is key. And hang on a second, that's the slide I need next. Okay, so the first thing is probably very similar to if you did a bread and jam application. It's thinking about what would the buyer achieve by listing you? So turn it on its head. So not about why, not about your product, not about your story, not about anything. What do they want? And there's 3 things maybe that they want. One is to sell more stuff. Second is to make more profit. Third is to get promoted. And fourth is probably to meet all those strategic things that they might be having as KPIs, like sustainability. And I'm not being facetious about it, because sustainability is really key for a couple of them. But so what are you going to do to help them achieve their goals? So it's all very lovely that you've got a lovely product and it tastes nice and it's pretty and you've got 2,000 followers, etc. But what does it actually do for them? So the why your brand for them is just as key in the email as it was in the pitching application, as it will be in the pitches if you're doing any in the next week or so.
Karen, can I just say something that may actually support what you're saying?
Yes, George. Hi.
Hi. What you're saying to these people is, these buyers are sat there at their desk thinking, why should I buy this product? Why should I act? Why should I take action? And you need to get them to a stage that says, why should I not? Why would I not engage with this opportunity? And that's the bridge you have to build. And,
yes.
And yeah.
It's making it a no-brainer, and it's very hard to do that in an email, and probably even harder because actually they might not even read their email. I mean, you know, I read every email. Well, that's not true, actually. I look at the subject line of everything that comes in my inbox. I always empty my inbox. So I'm not someone who has 4,000 emails, but a lot of buyers will. So you've got to get that, you know, that you had me at hello, which is why you need to do the pre-work, so that they've probably seen you several times. And George, you're absolutely right. When they see that email, they go, that's that brand, Bloomin' Egg. I've seen them. Oh, what are they up to? Oh, look. And then they read it and they go, oh, yeah, I really need to have these guys in just to find out what they're up to. So that's the first piece of the puzzle, and it's why your brand for them. And all of them, I mean, it's a vanity. It's not vanity, but it feels like a vanity. They all said, we want to feel that you've been into our stores and you understand my business. So you need to go into the stores, and you need to, or online, and really understand if it's an online retailer. And then the second part is the LinkedIn personality, because, pardon me, what you need to be thinking about when you're writing this email is that if they are a detailed person, they will want to, if they're interested now, so you've got them a little bit hooked, they're going to want a lot of detail if they're a bloke. If they're like me, who's a red and has a very short attention span, I'd only send me one paragraph, if that. I'd send me some in fact, I would put it in bullet points. I don't like reading, and anyone who's done work with me on presentations will know I can't stand it if you write a long paragraph, because I can't read it. So I'd want a few bullet points. And then you have to think about what kind of people learn in 3 different ways: auditory, kinesthetic, and visual. So a picture speaks 1,000 words. And one of the things I was disappointed with Bread and Jam this year, and I am kind of whittering on about it, is last year you could have pictures. And I'm assuming the buyers didn't look at them, but a picture is great. If you can go into the store and take a shot of their fixture, and then either physically put your product on the shelf and take the picture, or drop it in, I think that's compelling, as long as you've got it in the right place. But again, that's a whole other module as well. So as I say, design an attachment, and spell it correctly, with some relevant stuff. You know, it might be a 1-pager, it might be some key bullet points. That's key, and we go into that in a lot more detail and talk about that on the course. And then you go back and you write the headline. So once you've done all the pre-work, then you can write the show-stopping headline, and you need to distill it. If you've written 3 paragraphs of stuff, it needs to be into 5 to 7 words. And that's the piece of work that's probably the hardest and is the skill. And I've put it down there. Do not send the same email to each buyer. It's lazy. They will know. It will piss them off. They brought it up yesterday about people cutting and pasting pictures. I've done it. We've all done it. I was like with the QComs, they're probably all similar. They don't like it. And it's understandable, because if someone writes to you and you read somebody's email and it's so clearly generic, you know, you get them about your website. I've been on your website and it's got broken links and it's really, really bad and I can help you. Well, you know, that's not for you. That's for 10,000 people and you just delete it. Well, I usually delete them anyway.
Karen, can I
Yes.
just ask at this point, and specifically to Selfridges and Adrian Boswell, now his sort of initial point of contact is LinkedIn. So would we be contacting him with a view to obtaining his email to be able to do this, or do we need to create something for LinkedIn purposes to send to him initially to sort of have that conversation of you know, getting a list?
I think this is really interesting, deciding when to kind of go in for the kill. I would certainly, I think with someone like Adrian, what I would probably do is when you're sending the message, something about LinkedIn, by the way, is they do say always send a note with LinkedIn. The probability of people linking in is much higher, which means don't link in from your phone, because when you connect from your phone, it doesn't work. Sorry, digressing. So I would probably say, Adrian, love to link in. You might want to check out, and hopefully you've written an article or something about your product, about your category or how your product grows the category or what have you. And then if he links in with you, I would follow up probably with the message, which would be a version of this. I would, and then Adrian's email is in the public domain. I have it, it's pretty common. I can give it to you, and I would then follow it up with an email. And you know, if he's linked in with you, to me, that's an invitation to send him an email. So then I would go.
Karen, your favorite email, your favorite LinkedIn anorak here.
Yes, go on.
If people are sending invites to other people on LinkedIn so they can sell them something, they're probably not on the right platform. What you're doing is, because I'm at 6,500 now.
Okay, you win.
I'm building a virtual community of
Yes.
people who help each other.
Yes, exactly.
Two-way street. If all you want to do is sell Adrian a Mars bar, don't bother. And so what I do, because I'm quite passionate and anarchy about this, is I say, hi, as we share connections and are in the same industry, so there's two reasons to connect with me. We can help each other easier, 3 reasons, and strengthen both our networks, 4 reasons. If we connect, please connect. And that is it, end of message.
Yes.
And if they connect, I'll leave them alone for, I don't know, maybe a week, maybe a bit longer. Because what really pees me off is someone invites me to connect and 30 seconds later they go, well, thanks for connecting. By the way, can you help me with this? Which is,
Yes,
actually,
you're right.
You don't want to connect with me. You just want me for what you want me for. Does that kind of make?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I think that the whole point is pre-selling as well, so that he needs to be aware of you as a brand. And I think maybe selling brands is slightly different to selling services. Anyway, let's keep going.
Anyway,
We'll run out of time. But yes, I agree with you. You have to, it goes back to what I was saying. You have to touch someone 7 times before they buy from you.
Yeah.
So if I link in with one of you and then say, would you want to buy my course? You're going to be like, whoa, I'm not sure I want to buy your course. Who are you? Why are you, you know, if you've seen me talk and you've seen me do webinars and you've built up a relationship and you think actually this person might be able to help me, you might come to me and buy from me. But my drive, and this is selling a service rather than is to help people. I want to help you guys. And if you never buy from me, I'm absolutely fine with that. It's okay. But please, I mean, you know, and I'm quite happy to give out free content, but please don't keep making calls and meetings with me and taking up too much of my time one-to-one, because I can't afford to do that. So anyway, that's over with that. Right. So we've sent the email. What do we do next? So, you know, what George is alluding to is correct. You send an email and then they don't reply. Well, guess what? You're not that important to them. None of us are that important. So what I tend to think through, and we almost think it through before we start, is a series of emails. And I always use the Costco example with this, where we met Costco, and this is relevant actually for post your pitch if you've got pitches coming up. We pitched to Costco, and this is D with Case Wars Boerewors. We pitched in October 2018. He loved the product. He took the samples away, said, I'm really interested. And we heard nothing. We had his email address. It's still the same buyer, interestingly, 3 years later. And literally what we did, if you go back to those 7 points, we just kept dropping him an email. We weren't ringing him every week going, can we have a meeting? Can we have a meeting? We just kept saying, oh, by the way, you know, Boerewors is, we've just launched in Ocado. Boerewors is, you know, here's a piece of coverage about Boerewors. This is something we wrote on LinkedIn. Dee is exceptionally good at winning awards. She's an amazing individual as an entrepreneur. And so we'd write. And then in January this year, we wrote to them an email, Vivek an email saying, we're launching this new product. We've got a new product, just wondered if you were interested, because we know that the Boerewors standard are more expensive. And he replied like that. And that was, 2.5 years after the first conversation. And it went well, and we've listed, and, you know, it's been an amazing summer, etc., etc. So it's how to keep the conversation going without becoming a stalker. And, you know, this quote was, I think it was Adrian actually, the more you chase, the less likely I am to engage. Send an email and wait for a response. And I think that's a fair point. And it's incredibly difficult for all of us who are proactive and want to get stuff done when you don't get a reply. But I think you have to, you know, as George was saying, you're building up a relationship. So, you know, just keep drip feeding important stuff. And the breakup email is something I have used successfully with a retailer this year. And he'd been ghosting me, and I actually sent him one saying, are you ghosting me? And did he reply to that? I don't think he did. And then the next one, and it was an assessment of his personality, because I thought if he was a bit straight, he probably wouldn't, but he's quite a playful individual. Goes back to my LinkedIn profiling. And I said to him, I said, look, I said, you know, I sent you 3 emails now. I'm not going to become a stalker. Please, can you get back to me? Otherwise, you know, we'll leave it. And he wrote back. And he said, yeah, we are interested, and we're now having a conversation. So the breakup email can be really effective. And we, you know, I'm happy to talk about it in more detail. It's uncomfortable to do it. I've done it a few times with potential clients. And again, I've had probably about 30% success. So some people just go, do you know what? I'm never going to speak to you again. And that's fine. Or we haven't got the money, or we don't want to talk, or I've gone with someone else. And in fact, I had that the other day, someone's gone with someone else, and that's absolutely fine, quite right. But the breakup email can work quite well, but it is hard to do, and it does take a bit of balls. So I think on.
Sorry, Karen, could I just quickly ask on?
Yeah, sure.
We're in that loop at the moment, trying to follow up with people and balance between not annoying them and still giving it enough time. Is there a kind of, I'm sure it's not black and white, but is there a kind of reasonable time period to leave it between each of those emails so that it's not too much and you're bombarding them, but you're not leaving it too long so that by the time you get back in contact, they've maybe forgotten who you are?
I think it's genuinely you should go back with new news. I mean, what might be useful is if we just go down this list of 10 reasons why they might not be answering, might help you think this through, because it might help you think through what you go back with. Yeah. So in a lot of cases, it's wrong time. So if they're not looking at your category at the moment, then you could send them 20 emails and they're like, do you know what, we're just not interested. So a useful question in that case might be, see, I haven't heard back from you. When could you let me know when your next review date is? Now, for some people, they don't have a review date, but that might be quite useful. You might have the wrong buyer in the wrong category. So again, you might just want to say, oh, just want to make sure you're the right person. I've done that a couple of times where I've done my LinkedIn thing. And I think, you know, I've got a few at the moment who've all moved and I'm thinking, oh God. So I'm writing to them going, oh, I think you're the wrong person, but can you just let me know who it is? They may or may not. So that's another thought process. If you've sent a generic email, i.e. you didn't take my advice and personalize it, that might be the reason they're not replying. So you might want to start again. Some of them are going to be strict on application. So find out by going on their website and just find out, are they using an application form? And if so, I would apply through that as well. Now, obviously, if you've had a product guru or a bread and jam pitch, and then you go and apply that way, that's probably slightly over egging it, but have a look at that. These are more difficult. There might be the fact they just love your competition more than you. And, you know, which means you didn't do the right positioning. That's a little bit harsh, a bit critical, but, you know, it goes back to all the work you did at the beginning in terms of, you know, where do I sit? Where's the gap? Also about risk. So to kick your competitor out or to kick someone out, to bring you in, they've got to kick someone else out. So there's a risk. So one of the things, it's not just about positioning, it's about, did you reduce the risk enough? Did you convince them? And there was a buyer who was talking about this quite a lot, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Morrison's or Sainsbury's. Have you got enough money, supply chain, systems to cope with a listing? So there's that credibility piece. They might have a deal with your competitors. So they might have a longer term contract. It's probably less likely with challenger brands. And in most cases, they don't have contracts anyway. You might not have the right credentials. It's kind of something you'd probably have already done, but that might be something. You might not be big enough. So again, listening to Sainsbury's, they're pretty clear now. They will not take a new brand. They want to see traction and an evidence of a tribe before they'll consider listing you, which is slightly different to how they were before. So it's certainly worth having a look at the notes on Sainsbury's, or if you were at Bread and Jam, go back and watch that because it's quite interesting. You might be too big. So for example, you might already be, I mean, I always use Zinder actually as a good example, where we got Zinder into Tesco's very, very early on, which then precluded us from Deli's, Planet Organic, etc., etc. So if you're too big and you've already got a major listing for some reason, that's going to cause problems. And with Sainsbury's, of course, for future brands, and it's a no-brainer, non-negotiable, you have to be exclusive for a year. So say you are in Aldi, you ain't going in to Sainsbury's, and that's as simple as that. So that's that. And then the other thing is, they might have missed your email because it went to spam or the bottom of the other 4,000 emails, in which case you might want to try approach them in a different way, which takes me back to LinkedIn actually, because that might be another way of doing it. I should get commission for LinkedIn, seriously. Okay, so I've talked a lot.
Can I quickly ask you there with regards to Sainsbury's? When you say that you need to have some traction, are we talking, is there a figure that they're looking for, or just having sales through some form of you know?
They want to see proof of concept. So they want to see that you've sold online, direct to consumer and Amazon. Maybe you're in a few local delis. Maybe you've got into Selfridges. Okay. They want to take you as what I call second stage.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I said I was going to talk about the group program, which starts on the 5th of November. So we are doing this really to help you be your own salesperson. I've been asked quite a bit in the last week whether I will do selling for people, and in most cases say no. I am retained by a couple of clients for various reasons, usually because I've got history with them, but you can really do it yourself. You don't need to bring somebody in at this stage. It will help you think through your route to market, make sure that you get the right retailers to start with. I can help coach you on how to get the deal, how to get the right deal as well, how to negotiate. All the retail buyers you're going to talk to are trained in negotiation. So one whole segment of this course is training your negotiation. I think it's absolutely critical. And, you know, it will help you, as I say, from having that group perspective as well, to grow your business, grow your network. So I think it's a really good course, and we've been really successful with a number of our cohort. This is an example, Carolina. She started working with me the Pitch Perfect cohort last year. Now, this time last year, she honed her pitch. She got the meeting with Selfridges, and she launched in March this year, and it's doing pretty well actually. And yeah, actually, Adrian mentioned CBD as a really interesting growth area, so that's been really successful, and we've got quite a few of those. Brief overview of what we're going to go through. It's pretty much everything you need to get a listing and keep a listing. So some of the stuff we've talked about today, but in more detail, about how to find the right buyer, the right retailer, but also to think about who is the right retailer. So we think about the route to market, thinking a lot about your brand and your USPs from a trade point of view rather than a consumer, how to get the meetings, so more information like we've gone through today, what to do, how to prepare, how to write the right presentation. You know, not everything's a 7-minute presentation, people. It's, you know, they're usually half an hour. Building up your confidence, so how to practice, become a negotiating pro, and also what to do to launch. It's so critical. And again, you know, Al from Planet Organic was saying yesterday, we launch 2,000 a year and we delist 2,000 a year. We do not want to be in that 2,000 that gets delisted. So there's a whole module on how to keep listings and make it effective going forward. So how it works is there's training videos that you can watch, so things like this, but recorded, so you can watch them at your own leisure. There is every downloadable template you could ever wish for. So how to cost your products in case you haven't got that, how to work out margins and work out the cost of all the other things that you have to pay for, like promotions and reviews, etc. We have the group mentoring call once a week, so you get a chance to talk to people. So we will have a smaller group. I'm only going to have 10 people on the course, so it will make it much more succinct, and each of the other 3 cohorts have really built relationships with each other as well. And then we will have the Facebook group, or we have a Facebook group which has got everybody on it, so you can then talk to the other alumni who were part of the course going forward. The full price is $497 for all of that, but because of Bread and Jam, and a lot of you are Bread and Jam, we have got a Bread and Jam code, which is BJ100, which saves you £100. And as part of this, I'm going to throw in the secret sauce of getting a retailer listing, which is worth £47. So you get all that together, and you can apply. The course will only be available this weekend, and if you apply, then we'll send you details of the course separately. And we're going to start on the 5th of November. Yes, we've got 3 people signed up so far, so we've got 7 places left. So it'd be really good to have you on. And if you've got any questions, then obviously email me at karen@foodmentor.co.uk, which I'll put in the chat in a second. Okay, so I know we've asked a lot of questions, but any questions that people have, anything you want to ask at this stage, anything about next week's pitches or the week after, or anything else? Deathly silence.
Karen, I wanted to ask you, would it be possible for me to be able to send you my presentation just to have a look at, if you wouldn't mind? Because I'm really struggling with the cost side of things for my pitch and what I do in that regard.
I can run my eye over it. If you need more input, then you'll need to book in for a power hour with me, which you are welcome to do if you can find some spare time. I'm just gonna try and if I stop sharing. So I am doing some last minute power hours with people. So let me just come back onto there. Where's the chat gone? Right, so I'll stick that in as well. So you can book in there if you want to, but yeah, I mean, send it over. If it's really straightforward, yeah, I'll answer. Okay. And if I go, oh, and I will be genuine, I'm not going to sign you up for an hour if I don't think you need it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure with Eddie's, and I don't know if you were listening into that conversation, but it just really threw me with the difference between profit margin and markup. And I recorded that bit of the session and I'm going to go back and watch it, but it's just really thrown me with regard to the recommended retail price. But then he was mentioning something that's different. Markup is different to profit margin. So I don't obviously want to get this wrong because
I'm going to have to, I didn't watch Eddie's actually. I might have a very quick look at it and see what he was saying, because yeah, markup is different to margin and I tend to work on a margin basis. So
yeah, interesting to sort of have your input on that, because
yeah, I mean, by all means ping it over to me and I'll give you my thoughts, and I might get a chance to have a quick look at Eddie's. There's a few I want to watch. Does anyone know how long it's up for? I know I should know this stuff.
I emailed Holly. She said by the end of the week, by the end of next week, I think.
Oh, okay, that's perfect. So we've got a bit of time. Awesome. Okay, who else got their hand up? Leon.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much. It's very interesting. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, perfect.
I wonder what you think of just sending a sample direct to buyers, because I did that once and I was never clear. It was no clear if it got through to the right person.
The general consensus of everybody yesterday was please don't. They don't want unsolicited food coming through. And I think I used to be a bit cheeky and send samples through, but I think honestly these days, no, don't do it. I think you need to get that engagement first.
Thanks. It was a long time ago, and I did sort out arrangements first, but it was never clear.
I think if you can sort out an arrangement and say, do you want to see the product, that's great. But I think just sending unsolicited samples, I mean, even sending samples, my goodness, the amount of times I've been asked to send samples and they've got lost.
Right.
So you're probably wasting, by the time you paid the courier and your samples, 50 quid for nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would get engagement first.
Engagement first. Thank you.
Karen, can I just stop? Sorry, on your last slide you've put there, you said apply and you've put the foodmentor.co.uk pitch perfect.
Yeah.
And then underneath you've got free course only available this weekend. What does that mean?
So what I'm doing is, as an incentive for people to sign up this weekend, I'm giving the secret sauce course for free.
Right, okay.
So you get the mentoring program and you get the course as well. And I put the link for it in the chat as well. But I will obviously share all these slides.
Brilliant. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Ozzy, you got your hand up.
Oh, hi, Karen. Thanks for this. It's been brilliant. And I have a pitch for Cotswold Fair on Monday, and it's my first ever pitch. But I just wanted to check, because they are more of a wholesalers, not supermarket buyers or a different breed. Is there something that I should keep that in mind, because I think their margins will be different? So as a point of view, when I'm pitching, is there a nerve that I should be touching or mentioning it to make it a bit more exciting or interesting, or in anything that could help in that sense, because they are wholesale buyers, not retailers? Is there any difference?
So did you watch their the discussion on the bread and jam piece?
No, I couldn't watch it. I know it's recorded, and hopefully I'll be able to catch up because I'm traveling at the moment. I missed
no problem.
a whole lot.
So you know, to save you a bit of time, the download, which you'll get by the end of today when I've finished it, or actually it's there already. I've just got to add a bit, but it isn't Cotswold Fair, so you can have a look at it. You can have a read of what they're looking for. But what they're really looking for is their customers are delis and farm shops. So you need to be thinking about how you're going to engage with that end consumer. So again, something to say, you know, re-emphasize to all of you is that actually these pitches are not to get a listing, they're to get another meeting. So you're probably not going to get deep into commercials at this stage. I think you do need to know your numbers. And again, as part of this course, and I can certainly share it with you if you need it, I have a spreadsheet with wholesaler margins as well. So it works out both. But what they're interested in is what are you going to do to support? So will you go and train their sales reps? You can then go and train the staff. Are you happy to be in a sample box? Are you happy to promote with them? So there's a little bit more opportunity to kind of sweeten the pill, as it were. So they're interested in the product, and the other thing is the point of difference. So, you know, are farm shops and delis your future, or actually are you also applying to Tesco's in the back? Does that make sense? So you need to put together your presentation so that you're selling your brand to them with their end user in mind, so their end retailer.
Okay, no, it makes sense, and I think my product is a lot more suitable for independent retailers and deli shops and butchers and farm shops and things like that. So I'm really pleased that they accepted my application to pitch to them. I think it's a good match. But if it comes, or shall I mention that I think you know, the product is great for delis, and that's my existing clients already anyway. So independent retailers is 99% of my clients at the moment that I work with.
Yes. And that's another key point. If you've already got traction in other delis, two things. One, can you bring some of those delis to the party? Yeah. So that might be a possibility. So if you're dealing direct at the moment, you might be able to get those people onto the Cotswold Fair book, because there's nothing a wholesaler likes than new people.
Yes.
So that's one thing. And then the other thing is to say, give an example of you know, we're in Mrs. Bumble's, which does exist because a client of mine's in Mrs. Bumble's deli, and this is what it looks like, and this is the types of rates of sale she's doing, or he's doing.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Karen. Thanks. That's very helpful. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Okay, no more hands up. Everybody done, answered all the questions. Fantastic.
Hi, Karen.
No. Hi, Valerie, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you? Thank you very much. It's been really interesting. I've got a pitch coming up with Whole Foods.
Awesome.
Yeah, really pleased. I'm yet to launch, so it's actually fairly early still in my journey. Mm-hmm. The question I have is, I've already been speaking to Planet Organic and with Sainsbury's, and they've actually shown some interest. My concern is going to Whole Foods, whether I bother to sort of tell them that actually I am talking with others, or whether that will put them off and make them think, oh, we're not first then, not bothered with you.
I wouldn't bring it up unless it comes up. You know, it's a bit like going on a date, you know, on a dating site, and you might, you know, you're not going to say, oh, I'm talking to 10 other people. All you're doing is talking at that one occasion. So I would say, you know, you talk to Whole Foods, they're interested in you, you're interested in them. If they say, and they might ask you, are you talking to somebody else? Then you can be honest. I think in most cases, honesty is the right policy. Because that shows that people are interested in you, but I wouldn't bring it up voluntarily.
Okay, so it shouldn't be in the pitch itself. I sort of wondered whether it's to show that that maybe I do already have something that is interesting, rather than going to them and say, well, I'm not even quite ready yet. I don't want to mess it up right from the beginning, I suppose. Either way.
Again, I would go back and watch the bread and jam piece where whatever she was called was talking. It was quite early on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I did watch her, actually, the lady.
Yeah. And you know, they're interested in working with you from the beginning. And you know, again, I had a client quite early on actually in Food Mentor, and she had and still is in Whole Foods, and she's now in Morrison's. But they do have that loyalty. So I would just sort of say, you know, we want to build a relationship with you. We're a great fit because our customer profile is your customer profile. We're new to market, but this is the marketing plan. This is how we're going to grow. This is what we'd like to do with you in store. Whole Foods, Whole Foods, Whole Foods. We love you.
Okay.
And yeah, the only time I think I would put something like Planet Organic in is when I'm trying to give evidence of my traction, the existing traction that I've got.
Okay. Yeah, it's also another consideration of when I speak to Planet Organic, I sort of don't want to play. I don't want to play each one off of each other.
Well, why does it need to be either or?
No, I would hope it wouldn't be. I'd wondered whether, because they both like the whole first to market new product idea, whether that means that by talking to each one of them, I almost lose my chance with each of them. I don't know. I hope not. I hope that's not the case.
I think you're overthinking it.
That sounds like me overthinking everything.
I'll go and profile you on LinkedIn later. I'll be able to tell you that you're overthinking.
No, really don't do that, because my LinkedIn is everything about social media that I do is everything's new to me, actually. I'm having to find my way in a world that's very new. So I would like to connect with you. So I will send you a connection.
Come and join us on the course. We'll help. We'll help you out.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Karen. Much appreciated.
All right. No worries. Anybody out for anything else? No? Okay. Well, if anyone's going to this evening, have one for me. It's a shame I'm not going to be there. And if you need anything, the email is in the chat, but you will get an email later on this afternoon with the recording and links to whatever it is I've promised I'm going to send you links to. And if you need anything else in terms of preparation, feel free to come and book in if we can find some space. If you can't find any space, just email me. As I say, I am working tomorrow, but not on Sunday. And have a lovely weekend. And I will see you all very soon, hopefully on the course. Take care now.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks,
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.